Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start my reaction, and I want to make this quick because this video is like 40 minutes long, so we're just gonna go and keep on going without really even stopping. Just want to say a quick thank you to every single person who commented on my last two Star Citizen videos. There were so many comments. Almost 99% of them were super nice, super informative. You know, very warm welcome, and I really appreciate it. And I did not expect from myself to dive into this rabbit hole called Star Citizen, but hey man, with your kindness, with your own passion, you guys pulled me into it. So yeah, I just want to just genuinely say thank you for everything that you guys have done so far. Today's video is by Morphologist, whichever way you may want to pronounce it. This guy is an absolutely great YouTuber. He's absolutely awesome. And yeah, go ahead and check him out. He does stuff on Star Citizen and Cyberpunk. I'll turn up the audio in a second. Yeah, this is a Citcon summary. So let's see. This should be a detailed look at everything current Star Citizen has going on. So I'm excited to see it. Again, 44 minutes, so I'm not going to stop it. Let's start the ride.
So my strategy here was to be very short with each panel, but to cover pretty much everything. But despite my best efforts to keep it short, it still ended up being over 40 minutes long, so I've bookmarked each section for you so you can skip to the parts that you're most interested in. So if you guys think I did a good job by the end,
oh, I've never seen, okay, like,
deserve it,
okay, I said I wouldn't pause, but this is cool as shit already. What the hell? Is this how you create your character in the game? Okay, this is exactly what I wanted this video to be, honestly. Like, I wanted to learn much more about this game, and I think I'm about to get what I want. So super excited already, man. Facial hair. I'll put the link down in the description, so if you want to watch this full thing without me pausing it, without me talking over it, like this is my reaction video, obviously. That's the whole concept. But yeah, you can find the link in the description for the original video. Again, for one last time, Morphologist, you're awesome, dude. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Bell icon so you know the next time I post a video. All right, let's get
this is very cyberpunk like, but obviously it looks even more advanced. Also facial hair.
All right, let's get to it. Day one kicked off with a very impressive presentation.
So this is like a multiple day event.
Engine, which they now officially call Star Engine.
Star Engine, yes.
One continuous segment where it really showed off the capabilities of the engine to go from big
just making sure you guys can hear me. Hear the video
again in a way that no other engine can really pull off today. And it all kind of came off as them maybe advertising the engine to gain some additional revenue, but that's just speculation. It at least is distancing themselves now from the legacy cryo
I heard, maybe I'm wrong,
engine owes its legacy to.
But people said they're just showing off their game engine for other game developers. Some people also disputed that, so I don't know.
More realistic than they did before. Ground fog was also introduced, which further helped to increase a sense of distance.
I guess this part is gonna be very much what we know already.
Further improvements to fire propagation and how it's generated.
This was cool. This was super cool.
And damage. The demonstration showed off a functioning in-game fire extinguisher, which effectively put out the fire in a.
Imagine the chaos while you're trying to put that out with your whole crew.
Also demonstrated with
maybe in a fight at the same time.
Textures, integration.
Oh yeah, this is sick. Like, I've seen puddles before, but
this new tech
those
was
are
most
next
impressive
level.
when they showed the Gladius skimming the water surface, where it created a wake behind it. Now, if only they can improve rivers, which now feel.
So this is the kind of shit I want to see in video games in 2023.
Tear and blood tech for characters, which will make a huge difference for scenes where close-ups are required for Squadron 42 and eventually Star Citizen.
I like the dynamic blood a lot. It like adds a lot in every game that it exists in.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're using picture-in-picture tech like Tarkov does for zooming. We also got to see their work on integrating HDR tech into Star Citizen in a more comprehensive way, which Ian Leyland told me he's very proud of, and I look forward to seeing more of it in Star Citizen. This led to a suitable segue into
temporal upscaling.
This will come in the form of
these will go over my head. They're too technical for me right now. But meshing, was it?
Guessed it, DLSS.
That's pretty cool. DLSS 2, okay.
DLSS 3. CIG looks to be putting effort though into their own TSR, which
people say this game runs well enough regardless. So, but the DLSS 3 support would be much appreciated. It would be really good.
They were in native resolution. The panel then shifted to Planet Tech improvements, where they talked about how they're looking to use AI to generate terrain. This should help address issues like tiling with their current system. They also look to shift the object scattering 100% to the GPU, which will address the bad pop-ins that we experience.
See, this is a lot less worrying for me. I'm gonna talk about
performance
Starfield again, but
issues
Starfield was like a single-player
related to the
story-based
generation
game,
of
right?
I've been sure
At
to
least
get
that's what it
close
was
to
supposed to be.
integration so as to take advantage of
But
the
Star
performance
Citizen is much
benefits
more of
as
an
well as additional
MMORPG. We're not
features
talking
of
about
the
Squadron
API.
42.
They also dropped a bit of a surprise here.
So
with the
AI
promise of
for doing this shit?
ray-traced global illumination.
Oh yeah, ray
This
tracing.
promises to have a large impact on the quality of lighting.
Now I
in
wonder
all
after
spaces,
ray
and
tracing
make
will be
things
like will
players
everyone
and
be able
objects
to
feel a lot
run this
more
game
a part
relatively
of the
well,
environment
even
that
in
they're
a
in. They also
mid-range
demoed this in
rig.
a software mode, which will promise to deliver similar visual quality for those
Damn.
with lower-end systems.
Okay, cool,
As a
cool.
bonus, this will also help designers provide consistent lighting between all system specifications. Next, they discussed a substantial
there we go.
improvement to their clothing
That's an
physics
interesting
engine,
way to show
which
it.
They call Starcloth. The way they demonstrated it, though, was pretty interesting.
I
and
know, right?
highly
Like, what the
believable,
fuck?
And we all had a good laugh at the show when this
Yeah.
happened. All the scenes, though, now feel way more visually realistic in ways that I couldn't
damn,
expect,
okay.
especially where the environment affects a character's clothes, such as where there's a lot of wind.
That's cool. That's cool. That is really cool. That
Their
is
tech, though, has also seen
pushing the
great
boundaries right
improvement,
there.
where they look to have changed the way that strand physics are calculated, resulting in far more impressive and realistic hair simulation.
That is. Whew, that is
Keeping with the
tough.
physics theme, Maelstrom, CIG's name for
I love this
environment
distraction too.
destruction
Yeah,
tech, was then
in the
demonstrated.
engine.
This feature looks to
demo
tie
or
into
whatever.
future gameplay, as well as Squadron 42's first-person experience, where obstacles can now be destroyed during
I feel
fight
like
scenes
in
to
each
remove
aspect we're
cover
seeing
from
right now
enemies
in
as
video
well
games in
as
general, we
yourself.
went
They also
back
showed
and
how they apply
Star
this tech to
Citizen is
ship
like
destruction
finally
to make far more
saying like, stop
realistic
going back, let's push it
explosions.
forward. There
This
you go.
far-reaching
That's
implications
whew.
for vehicle combat going forward, where pieces
That's what
of
I
a
wanted
ship
to see,
can
man.
be
Let's see
blown
that one
up.
more time,
So
as a matter of
Pyro
fact.
applied this tech to ship
Because in the engine
destruction to
demo,
make
it
far
was
more
very
realistic
underwhelming, but there you go.
explosions. This will have
The
far-reaching
water, all the
implications for vehicle
particles.
combat going forward, where pieces
Pretty
of a ship
sick.
can be blown off. Next, they showed off how they've improved
it can,
the audio
like, mess
for
with the
ship and
parts of
FPS
it.
weapons to give them a lot more oomph than they've had before.
Okay. I mean, kudos to the sound designers, dude. Whoever's working on. Oh, let's go, dude. Okay. It's 9%. Okay, I guess.
They also showed a new realistic sound mode,
That
which
assault
will
rifle,
please
dude.
a lot of space nerds, I'm sure, especially fans of Battlestar Galactica.
Okay. See, this is probably something that I won't be using. I need all the assistance I can get.
Finally, in a bombshell,
But hold on.
listeners, they also show fans of Battlestar realistic sound mode.
A realistic sound mode. Oh, fair enough, fair enough.
In
That's
a
what it
bombshell
was.
Announcement: Paul Reindell came on stage and demoed a working version of server meshing. I
Oh,
already
yeah, there
covered
you
this in
go.
a dedicated video, as it's
So those are
one
two
of the most
separate
important
servers?
things they discussed in the entire event. So I'll just get to the point
you can
here.
mess with
It
something
worked
else
in real time
in
on
the other
stage,
server.
hosted on laptops backstage. This means that CIG looks to be able to deliver the promise of Star Citizen that they've envisioned. It still needs a lot of time to cook, though, in the oven, and the replication layer, the tech that comes beforehand, has yet to come online in the upcoming 3.21
Oh, there he goes.
patch. I think it's .1, but I'm not sure. I still think they're
This-
shooting for Q1 next year, but that's just speculation.
This has a lot
This,
of
by the way,
potential
as a
right here.
reminder, is the tech they need to actually fully release Pyro. So we're going to have to wait a little bit for Pyro to release to the live servers. Then came the presentation on engineering in the panel called Fix It and Fly It, headed by the
Citizen
EU
Con.
team.
Con
As
is
the
a poor
disclaimers
choice
over
of
the
words.
visuals that
I know
they
it's
showed in
convention,
the
but you know.
showcase weren't final art. That's what they wanted to let us know, so don't become too attached to the way it looks. They explained here how
Resource
the resource
network.
networking tech that they've been working on will be the underlying tech that powers the entire game system, from ships to outposts to stations and more. Players will interact with it through engineering gameplay loops as well as puzzles. They broke down the interactions players will have with this mechanic into tuning used for preparing ships for situations, and then went on to discuss maintenance and damage control, which is what you'll need to do to keep your ship going in combat or for regular wear and tear upkeep. They then showed in a physical demonstration
that's gonna get pretty
how
intricate, huh?
components can be replaced or repaired using a new repair beam. It's a bit of a meme at this point, Beam Citizen, but I guess how else would you do it? Maybe, I don't know. And then moved on to the
I mean, the fizz gun is
explanation
always
for
great, so
power
what can you do?
distribution mechanics, similar to what we have in other space games you might be familiar with. Engineers will need to choose what systems get what power in a limited pool of power points available, which can be supplemented temporarily via batteries, which will deplete and need to be recharged.
So like anything else in the game, you can literally specialize in this, like in this aspect, and join a squad or a clan or whatever. Yeah, and just like be the guy who is really good at repairing stuff, that be the engineer of the team, and don't do anything else, honestly, because the way the system is looking, like how it's going to shape up, it's pretty deep enough already to just
next, though, they did
keep you busy by itself alone.
Working in-game mechanics, where they showed off an interactive in-world ship screen on the bridge of an A2, which is a medium-sized multi-crew ship. In the demo, they showed off a fight between a Gladius.
That's a great-looking ship, by the way.
Where we got to see how nodes in the network can be damaged and have to be replaced. They also demonstrated how the engineering.
So you can see him there, and you gotta go physically mess with him.
Need to be repaired in real time. It also showed how engineers can control the operation of doors, components, and even atmosphere in different compartments. This then tied into damage control, where a fire extinguisher wasn't
that is a deep system.
An engineer then chose to vent the compartment to reduce the fire down to nothing. Fires can spread through
that's cool. That's cool.
And create signature bursts, which make you more detectable to other players and NPCs. So dealing with them quickly seems to be important. I also imagine if the fire spread too much, the ship would probably explode. Seeing this come together, though,
there's a small problem right there.
And shows how big ships
love the interior, though. Holy shit, dude.
Impossible to handle in combat alone going forward. It reminded me a bit of a more intense version of Sea of Thieves, and I look forward to trying
Sea of Thieves. There's this like 2D game, I think, where you do submarine stuff, which is very difficult from what I know.
See how it works in a small set of ships. However, it doesn't seem to be that close.
Like I can see if you're into this, you're rubbing your hands, you're happy right now, because that is again a deep system.
John Crew, vehicle director,
John Crew,
vehicle art director. They began with their recent completed work on the Crusader A1, a visually stunning ship that I look forward to reviewing in an independent video. And then moved on to discuss.
We can debate everything about the game, but one thing I'll say, the ship design in this game is undefeated. Let's put it to the side.
Based off a historical ship that first
this looks
travel in the lore of Star Citizen.
Every color of it, I love it.
Will offer 3 variants: the ES, the Essential, an Explorer,
MK2
an MR
ES,
or Mark, a Bounty Hunter variant, and
Bounty Hunter,
CL or Clipper for hauling.
Okay, makes sense.
Slightly different interiors to better suit their use.
Kind of like the Bounty Hunting variant. The way it looks.
Dampener and an additional turret, as well as an armory and a place to store 2 bounty pods. It was an impressive look at how far CIG
that's so cool.
Crafted interiors that better utilize the space while simultaneously better plan their configuration of space.
Even the uncolored version looks good. You know what I mean?
Sadly, though, the Zeus is still in white box, and we're going to have to wait some time to see it in game. The word later is something like in the next 12 months, but an exact ETA was
the next year.
Next, though, was a presentation on a new variant of the Drake Cutter, a scanning ship, and sadly, there's no functionality to it. They did, though, offer an explanation for how it will work. Just like FPS scanning, there's going to be a quick scan for line of sight scanning, but the charge scan will be much longer range than what we have right now, capable of detecting ships as far as those in quantum travel, and will automatically give jump points to the locations of those ships in quantum. This eventually will be a logistical must for fleets of players, but sadly there was no word on when these
sounds powerful.
Come into the game. I was under the impression that they were done introducing ships without functionality based on something John Crew said a while back, but I guess that's changed and was probably unavoidable since they're focusing now on Squadron 42. They then went on to address the enormous backlog of ships. You may recall that I did a video some time ago about this subject where I figured out that they have around 10 years of work if they do it efficiently, ignoring going gold standard on some of the older ships. They provided
just 10 years.
Slowdown, though, being that some senior ship artists had left CIG, leaving ships like the
Plus, don't they have 100 ships already?
Those guys were guys, by the way, who went to SA. Anyway, the point of this is to let you guys know that they're aware of the
SA is what, I don't know. I missed what he said there.
One of the ways they're working to address it is by hiring more people. They're now up to 24 members, including some new members from the Turbulent studio.
Okay, getting some new blood.
Into ships featured in Squadron 42, where he began by announcing that the Idris, a capital ship featured prominently in the single-player campaign, would release alongside Squadron 42, as well as with its variants. The Javelin, though, he noted, would need to wait a little bit longer, so big sad on that one. The updated Van Duel ships, though, will be released as well with Squadron, so yay there. They
Okay.
then proceeded to tease
straight
us
up.
with their upcoming work via a silhouette reveal.
Use alien
including
ships.
The RSI Polaris. That's an Idris-sized RSI capital ship, by the way. They then explained that one of their strategies for attacking the backlog is to work on the same manufacturer, in this case RSI, to get a bunch of the ships down in close succession. So that way they can move across similar assets and work more efficiently on the builds. From my own experience, this is a pretty smart move, and I look forward to seeing their results.
That's crazy. I had no idea like ships were such a big thing in this game, though.
Other ships discussed in the past.
That's the reason why they look good, because they're a focal point. That's a huge point, like part of this game.
12 months. This overall then wasn't the most
12 months, okay.
panel for ship releases, but it was
Most of you
packed
also
with a lot of
said
good
Squadron 42 would
information,
release in
and we shared it.
year, maybe 2 years.
The
That
next
shouldn't
panel
take
today
more
was
than 2,
navigating the universe,
ideally.
Where what was discussed was exactly as advertised, how players navigate the universe.
Yes.
This is the panel they discussed the
Incoming
so I'll get to that
train
in a
waiting
moment.
comments.
First, they demoed the new FPS HUD from Squadron 42, which will be translated eventually into Star Citizen in the
Okay.
coming months. The new HUD presented a clean and
I like it.
intrusive look.
It is
with
clean.
notable
It is
improvements
clean.
to the AR markers for objectives and waypoints. The HUD also included refinements to FPS scanning mechanics, with the top of the screen now tying into EM, IR, and audio spectrums. These tie
That's
into
okay.
the detectability of a player in stealth gameplay. We're exceeding the white
So we got
area
stealth in the
makes
game,
you
huh?
detectable, which can be triggered by being loud or scanning, which they discuss next.
I like it,
There
I
are
like
now
it.
2 FPS
Those are
scanning
necessary, I
modes,
think, in
charge and quick
stealth
scan.
games.
Quick scan
Splinter
is
Cell
a
Chaos 3, for
passive mode that
example,
presents information
has stuff like
for things
this.
within line of sight,
It's pretty good,
whereas
so.
The charged version shows through walls but spikes your emissions, making you more detectable, potentially alerting players and NPCs to your location.
Oh shit.
This led into showing the new MobiGlass UI, where a huge step forward was presented
Stuck 'em
with
out.
the way it looks, departing from the ancient flash tech that the original MobiGlass was.
I like
based
this.
on.
Like, I really like this design as
Next,
well
though,
in the
was
Squadron 42
highlight
trailer.
of this panel, the map system, which began.
It struck me as, like, very cool as well.
Mechanics will work as downloadable data.
This game has
Creating the
maps.
buttons
I
of ways
can't help but do it,
everyone
man. I
to do
can't help
data
but
running and trading
hit
information.
Starfield.
Once the player downloads the map into their MobiGlass, the map becomes available in both the app as well as on the player's HUD.
That's cool.
Siaji highlighted that this runs in real time, giving the tech impressive implications.
Real time.
Things like the status of doors, locations of players, and waypoints can be seen in real time.
I like
I gotta
that.
say it was also pretty impressive to see them pull off the hollow special effects look, because I was a little worried it wouldn't be very visually legible, but I think it actually works really well.
I think so
They then
too.
showed
I think they
off
did
how
a
it
decent
can be
job with
used as
this.
a
Usually,
personal
like,
GPS
I remember
device
this
to
Star
navigate
Wars
waypoints
game
and how
that
you
has
can
a
generate
similar
your own
map.
waypoints.
It's like, what is this?
Has
But
far-reaching implications for
and this looks
group
okay.
gameplay, for communicating the location of points of interest.
also, quickly, I gotta say the fact that you download it and then it's available on your app and gets on the side, like, that's pretty cool because it's super immersive. It just makes it feel real, you know.
Enemy locations and for trading information on the location of
I like that.
valuable things. They then stepped directly onto a Carrack, showing the seamless transition between the two maps because the system is, after all, unified.
All right.
This is when, though, they proceeded to blow everybody's mind, where they revealed that the system is actually unified all the way up to the system level map. Here we got to see an improved and much more.
God damn.
legible system, as
Rest
well
in
as
peace, whoever
much
worked
clearer
on this.
planets and a better
That
way
is
of
good, though.
representing the
That
system as a
is
whole,
the
where it's
highlight, yeah.
Scaled until you zoom in, where it starts to become more full scale. I really like the way that they made this. It seems
I'm not
like
gonna-
they
I'm
must
not
have
gonna
taken a
mention that
lot of
game
time to
again.
figure out what would work best for easily allowing people to read what a system
Oh, man.
looks like. One potential
That is
issue
good.
was
I love that.
accidentally revealed towards the end of this presentation, where they showed off the terrain a little bit. I felt here that this is where the hollow look kind of fell apart a bit.
Yeah,
It started
absolutely,
to become a
absolutely.
bit
The
unclear.
mountains,
Personally,
what is
I
going on?
prefer they switched to a textured look at this scale.
Yeah,
That way
yeah,
we
yeah,
can
yeah.
more easily differentiate between vegetation and water obstacles.
They gotta
could
do
be
something
more
about that for
useful
sure.
For tactical situations.
This looks like I don't know.
Overall, though, it's still
Like a
huge step
DNA.
in
I'm
the
looking
right
into
direction, and I
someone's
look forward to having
biology.
this. Honestly, if we had it today, it would be leagues and leagues ahead of what's in the current version of Star Citizen, which,
Okay.
let's be honest, is pretty much unusable. This then concluded the day one presentation set.
This was
Getting them off
definitely
to a
necessary.
Really good start with some mind-blowing stuff. Server meshing probably being my personal.
Yeah, kudos
highlight
to
for
the entire UI team, man. Like they did a pretty good job here.
Discuss, though, on
Not just with the map.
So let's dive straight into that.
Character
Day two then
advancement.
kicked off with a panel titled Character Development, headed off by Ian Leyland, Star Citizen's art director. The first segment focused around Pyro content, showcasing clothing and armor befitting the tone of Pyro itself. Key features being cobbled together clothing and generally feeling worn down, in stark contrast to the clean.
Giving me that
This led to them then talking about
Fallout
a
vibe right there.
system to augment our inventories.
Ooh.
A useful feature in an environment with few stops to resupply. I personally think this looked awesome, and I can't wait till we have this.
Looks pretty good, yeah.
The gangs of Pyro, where they showed off the rough and ready gangs, visual identity, which
This is a Cyberpunk's 2077 gang.
Character feature for Star Citizen. These tattoos represent the rank of the gang, and it was revealed that players can work to earn them through the reputation system with the gang. They then showed off the Headhunters gang next.
So you got different tattoos as well.
Mad Max style. It looked really cool, actually, and I actually want to get a set of this armor when
I like it.
Finally, they talked about the Dusters gang, who are probably best known for being in the Stanton system. Here we got a look at their own set progression by gang rank, which was very
like all
cool.
the armors, everything, everyone looks cool here.
These can be earned by players by repping up with the Dusters gang. This
Right.
An exciting presentation on what armor is going to look like going forward in Star Citizen. Armor, it was explained, will be specialized for the task at hand, with greater differences for each type in protection, mobility, and utility. There will
look at that lighting, by the way.
Class armor types with hindrances to armor that's used out of role, such as, for example, wearing heavy armor in a snub fighter, which would be better suited for a flight suit, which would give the occupant better ability to handle G-forces.
Okay.
It was also explained that armor would go into
Going
some
that deep.
basic categories: combat, specialist, utility, and
How much is that
support,
gonna matter
which
at the
will
end of the day?
define
That's what I'm
types of
wondering.
Items available for the
Is it gonna make a dramatic difference, or is it gonna be like, hey, 5% more? You're like 5% more resistant.
This then led into hygiene,
to G-force.
which is something that we've heard about for years now, but really didn't know much about.
Hygiene.
Turns out that hygiene is going to be really important. You're going
Guess
to
you gotta
have to
make that
take
sweat
showers
system
and
work.
Keep your equipment clean. Poor hygiene will show as dirt and sweat on your character and will accumulate negative effects such as lowered health, disease, and snarky comments from NPCs.
Right.
Wearing dirty clothes will also negatively affect this attribute as well. Darkloth was then again revisited, where some cool clothes for Pyro were shown off. The cloak looked
These, I can look at these forever. Yeah.
Then came a big reveal. They expanded on their explanation for their hair tech, leading to a new character customizer. This has been a bit of a sore spot for a while, and it's good to see them having improved it quite a lot.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this looks great.
Like the old system in favor of a more tactile
there you go. Can
system
mess with
where you can
everything.
Sculpt facial features the way you want.
I'm
They also
hoping
showed
there's
off
a
new and
system
improved
to
options
quickly
for
share
more
your
accurate
created
skin
character.
tones and complexions,
So
as
that-
well as a much better
Hey,
UI
if you like
for
this character,
selecting
here.
them. Facial
One
hair
button.
was also shown off.
You can
something
have it
that's
too.
Been begged for a long time. Finally, we can have beards. And finally, the hair selection was shown off.
Oh wow, you didn't have any beards until until now.
The hair selection was shown off.
But I love the
where an
detail,
incredible
like,
amount of control was demonstrated over the hair
there,
color and pigments down
flowing
to
around there.
how high or low the dye
Yeah,
is
this
and how
looks
much
pretty
dye is
much
in the hair. Looks
like a
really,
triple
really
A
cool.
single
I've actually
player
never seen such a detailed
game.
system in gaming before, so I think now we can easily say
Yeah,
it's one
yeah.
of the best in the industry, if not the best.
Like, it is impressive. I'll give it that.
Following the impressive look at the character customizer, the next
Life
panel
in
came up
first
called
person.
Life in first person, where
It's a cool
the
suit too.
improvements to the new EVA mechanics were
Styles
shown
wise, like style wise, this game has
Here
it all.
We saw improved transitions between gravity, which are a lot smoother than
Boom.
they are now.
Ah, nice.
So sadly, no more hilarious face planting.
Oh,
Big
come
sad.
on.
They also demonstrated how the new EVA tech can enable translation through previously difficult spaces, and how Grappling
Oh,
would allow
translation,
players
okay.
to take hold of handholds and surfaces.
Oh,
with stick
dude.
movement in 0G
Beautiful
settings.
animation
The
work
whole
there.
effect makes for a
Oh,
far more immersive experience and reminds me a lot of The Expanse.
yeah,
It
I
then
know,
went
right?
on to show the new prone movement, which looked a lot better
Mm.
in third person and first person, and solves a lot
about
of
you turn
strange
around,
issues
mister?
in first person.
There
that were
we
present
go.
In our current version.
That is
Players
legit.
wouldn't be able to move or would clip through geometry in weird ways. Improvements to ladder animations
Ooh.
and use of ladders were also demonstrated, taking the game up to a more contemporary standard. They also
Yeah.
showed off the new sliding mechanic alongside improved, snappier animations for general FPS.
No, I'm
combat.
loving what I'm seeing right now. I'm a big animation freak, so... Ooh, the first person animation looks sick too.
The sliding mechanic still needs to be balanced, and there would be stamina involved in sliding, so
Stamina,
hopefully
mana.
we don't get Slidey McSlide face meta like in Modern
I
Warfare.
mean, like, they're not all
Then
perfect,
finished off the
obviously,
section with a peek at radiation effects
but with
on players,
everything else that's in the
can be mitigated
game,
by armor
they begin to
protection
add
for
up and,
limited
like...
time, or by using obstacles that directly obstruct the line of
That's
sight to the
what
eluded
makes this
item.
game crazy.
Imagine this is going to tie into Pyro, especially for those solar flares that we've been seeing. As you might
Like, you can
expect,
play
though,
Cyberpunk here, you can play
radiation accumulates and
Fallout
doesn't
with the
disappear immediately.
radiation.
Unfortunately, though, this panel didn't finish with any word on.
You like
when
the
we expect to
Expanse?
see
Play the
these
Expanse a little bit. We got
then
lightsabers.
Caldas came to the stage. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Ines
Gameplay
Caldas.
programmer
Ines
Thea
Caldas.
came to discuss improvements to player interactions for what I'm told is her very first public presentation since starting to work at CIG. So really a round of applause for her. She did a great job.
Carry,
So the
store,
first
inspect.
thing she did was talk about the new radial menu for interacting with items that would
Set
give
as
players
primary,
more
set as
control
secondary, huh?
over how they interact with objects within the world. It came off as a lot more functional and visually superior than our current system. Improvements, though, weren't limited to just items. It also looks like
Fucking
CIG
punch it.
created animations for interacting with virtually everything a player can interact with in the world. Players now can physically interact with buttons, touch panels, levers.
No, like,
valves,
dude, like,
which all
I thought that was gonna be the
contribute to
only
enhance the
animation
immersion
and
of
him
the
doing
player's
this.
experience,
But nah.
giving them a heightened sense of connection with the world.
Cyberpunk does
It
this
also just
especially
looks
well in the Phantom Liberty
Then
DLC.
came
I love the
another
hell out of
personal
this. This
favorite
is
of
very
mine,
important,
the
so I'm
new
glad that they're
UI.
focusing on
the
it.
system looks much more intuitive and informative than what we have right now, especially where things can be
It looks
equipped on your
like
character's inventory versus the looted.
simple
inventory.
enough
You
too.
can
I feel
see
like
where
I'll
those
figure this
things
out
connect
quick, you
and
know,
what
once
you
I,
can swap over.
or all of
Then
us.
came a series of new takedown animations where
Take
the
it down.
idea of soft skills were once again addressed. Here they showed off how
Hey.
increasing your skill with
There you go.
takedowns will increase your chance to take
Got some
down a
ragdoll action
player
going
or
on.
NPC, either in a lethal or
Oh shit, was that a
non-lethal
kick to
takedown.
the throat?
It also showed that there's going to be a short and mini event, sort of skill check for the takedown, especially
And he
if you
can
are
do it in
more
time.
skilled in that takedown. The animations looked visceral and
Bam, oh
brutal
my
in
God.
some of the moves, and I really like the way they're looking.
I
Then
do too,
during
I do
the
too.
Non-lethal takedown segment, they showed off a new restraint.
Oof,
mechanic,
just
which
knee
CIG
to the chin.
explained would be needed to help stop NPCs from
All
eluding
right.
players once they became conscious again. But I imagine that this is also for Bounty Hunting V2. when they bring
Oh,
them
that's
over to
sick.
Star Citizen. Then came a short
Again, like that
demonstration
aspect
where
of it
once
just
again we saw
reminded
the
me of
real scanning mechanics,
Red Dead
which will
Redemption
help
a little
players get
bit.
a better idea of the area and make more tactically sound decisions. The presentation then segued into the weapon.
That's such a
and
soft
tier
voice, man.
mechanics coming out. Similar
Presentation.
to the ship version, weapons will accumulate dirt and wear
Yeah.
depending on their use. And
So they're getting
location.
jammed
As
like
they
Far Cry
increase in
2?
Their wear and tear, negative effects will arise, such as weapon jams.
Oof.
It showed off a pretty cool clearing animation as well for when a weapon jams, which
Oh,
will
man.
make a player who encounters a jam much more vulnerable. This will
That is
encourage
sick, though. That
players
is
to be
sick.
a little bit more conscious of maintaining.
I love this in
weapon
Far
before
Cry
going into combat.
2 as well, but
Improvements to weapon recoil will
obviously they
also
overdid
show
it there,
bringing them more
so
in
I
line
assume
with
it's gonna
modern
be a bit more
shooters.
balanced in
The
this
new
game,
bolt
man.
gun was also a big
You're not gonna
highlight
have it
for
up
me
and all the time.
because it looked
Or it'll be
really
easier
cool,
to
especially
maintain.
How the firing sequence goes from bolts all the way up to a solid beam. It reminded me a bit of that glue-on gun from Half-Life 2.
I was gonna say,
FPS improvements
it does
were then
remind me of
discussed with
Half-Life.
Snappier ADS animations, that's aim down sights, and time to kill will also be increased according to CIG, but it wasn't really discussed how it would be increased. So hopefully,
Shoot
you
that
won't
water
get
bottle.
bullet
No,
spreaders, which I
come on.
personally hate. Weapon iron sights were also remodeled on pretty much every weapon to give a better target.
These look cool, but I
picture.
gotta
They
like
also
actually
revisited the new
play the
stealth shooter,
game.
which again looked great. Closing out
Yeah,
the
they look
FPS
good. They look
stages,
good.
They then demoed a new reloading from backpack mechanic, which will be an alternative to reloading from your rig at a much slower rate. Then they shifted to discussing NPC AI.
That's a unique idea. I love that.
Complex NPC trait system was demonstrated. By mixing traits, AI will behave in different ways depending on the setting. For example,
this is
less
good.
experienced shooters may behave more rashly and charge with poor accuracy.
Okay.
The fear trait was also of particular interest.
Yeah, look at
which
this
would
dude.
inform them whether or not
What
they
an
should
idiot.
avoid going through things like fire hazards. AI medics were also shown off here, where they'll now be able to revive.
Oh, I love that. I love that shit. I love that type of
This will
shit.
also work for players eventually as well too. AI resupply mechanics were also shown off, showing that AI would need to rearm themselves eventually.
Dude, that is sick.
Yogi Clad, principal
Like,
vehicle programmer, then took stage. For
I
the next
do,
panel
you know,
on
bullshit in
combat
Hitman and just watch the AI, you know, investigate, clean up the guns, the blood, the bodies, drag them back. So stuff like that I really appreciate. And what I would love, let me say real quickly,
work on the immersive cockpit experience that they.
I'll get back to the video after that. But like, what would be really cool is in some of the missions or most of the missions, or maybe in the MMORPG aspect of, or Star Citizen itself, we have opportunities to see AI battling AI. Like they're having a dispute, they're having a battle, and you're trusted into that situation. Maybe you got to survive, maybe you got to get an item. And like, there's two dynamic sides now. And like, this game really does allow for a lot of situations that arise. And I love that shit. I absolutely love that shit. Yeah, like in Skyrim, like you're just hanging around and 1,000 things happen and it feels so natural, and you can't shut off the game because of that, because like it just, the world feels alive and stuff like that I really loved. I mean, GTA Watch Dogs 2, believe it or not, is a great example of like a very dynamic world. And so things that I'm seeing, things that they've showcased here, it's pointing towards that. Man, I really want to see Squadron 42 now. Hopefully it comes out next year. If you gotta wait 2 years, fair enough.
Working on where they'll now
But I
have
mean,
animations
I'm excited
for
now.
Interactables. She explained that they're code-driven, helping streamline the process. Tony Arias, senior UI programmer, then came on to talk about the UI changes for the ship's dash and HUD. The goal here, he explained, was to
Giga Chat,
declutter
dude.
and simplify the experience. He then talked about improvements to the multifunction displays, or MFDs for short, which demonstrated additional functionality and visual improvements. Things like target weapon posture and orientation are now shown in these systems. They also showed off how
Gotta say, he may have one of the hardest jobs in the game, man. The UI lead.
That this will require the appropriate helmet, hinting at the need for flight helmets as part of that whole armor presentation we'd seen earlier. Yogi then retook center stage to talk about the addition of pilot force reactions, which are meant to help better communicate the acceleration and speed of a ship to pilots. But then Yogi shifted over to discussing their work on master modes, which we last saw at Citcon a year ago. As a recap, there are going to be 2 new modes.
Okay.
SCM mode for ship combat and ship activities,
search
where
engine
your ship speed is
maximization,
restricted, but you have full access to your weapons and shields. And navigation mode, which is used for traveling and going into quantum, where you won't have any shields and will not be able to.
So this is for every single ship,
The diagram was also shown here to demonstrate how thruster outputs are going to be recalibrated to favor rear thrusters, making for a much more interesting combat and maneuvering. He then also confirmed that there's going to be a brief moment of transition between these modes, which he explained means that if you transition from SCM to navigation mode to try to get away from a fight,
you can't just
vulnerable for a short period of
do
time,
it like that. I mean, it would be overpowered.
Will be disabled if
like people would 100% cheese the hell out of that. So
is using distortion weapons. The presentation then shifted to the quantum
that was necessary.
He explained that the current system isn't actually fully physicalized, where ships are instead teleported at intervals along a spline between point A and point B. This new system is fully physicalized, which offers a lot of interesting gameplay mechanic opportunities, such as the new skill check minigame that they're going to have when you start going into quantum, which will require you carefully align your ship until it locks in, or you'll be thrown out of quantum travel. This will tie into quantum drive health, type, and grade. Yogi commented, "You're gonna
Even
really
more
wanna
details
care about
out.
what type of quantum drive you buy in the future."
I really wonder what happens when you get thrown out then. You could just go combust instantly.
I must say, look
or
and
run into like an
sound
asteroid.
so good.
Man, they
Yogi then demoed the QT boosting mechanic
leaned
for
in
short range jumps.
to the simulation
this
for sure.
requires a constant steady hand instead of being able to lock in for you to get to the other end
So
successfully.
another game I can
Quantum boosting, though, will
compare
also
to this
work
is
in
Arma.
any direction, which is going to make for much more interesting exploration and possible combat opportunities. They then went into explaining
Obviously, the
ship
scale is a
AI
tiny bit
improvements,
bigger.
where they will now follow a series of different behavioral types. Their actions are also programmed using data analysis of player encounters to make them a lot more
Jesus.
challenging and engaging. It was noted though
I've
that they
never
also
seen. Did
programmed in the
any other
stakes
video
to
game
AI
company
as
do
they
that?
found
Actually
perfect
use
AI could be
player
a
data?
little too
Maybe they did
overwhelming
actually.
and
But that's a
uninteresting
cool
at times.
idea.
This demo then showed off the new UI improvements as well for targets, though this wasn't directly discussed at any point in the presentation, sadly. Yogi then went into how weapons will also be getting a big rebalance, giving them each unique pros and cons. Weapon ranges will also now be effectively uncapped, but weapon spread will be the thing that encourages closer combat. UI will inform players of this through a color system, green being maximum
That's how
hit
they're gonna balance
hit
that.
calculations were also then said to have been improved through a different calculation technique, which will make hitting targets a lot more consistent. Then precision targeting mode was introduced, which will allow players to zoom in on a target and paint segments for their gimbals to hit.
Right,
it's a very cool looking mechanic, and I look forward to trying it myself. To close out the panel for the day, Yogi then presented their work on control surfaces
this
for
one?
atmospheric flight.
This ship,
Prove that
because
this
it looks
was
like a, you
accurately
know,
being simulated. Yogi showed shutting
classic
off the
jet.
thrusters in a live demo and how a ship could still be controlled. This is
But it's actually a
important, as
spaceship
ships
and
are
it looks
not
so
meant
damn
to
good.
Use their thrusters used in space well in atmosphere, as they're meant to overheat well there eventually. So you're not supposed to be able to hover indefinitely like over a target and just aim directly down and shoot it. This has been actually an issue in Star Citizen for some time, so this is looking to start relieving this balance problem.
Yeah, that does seem like it would be overpowered.
Then after a brief
People
break,
would
they came
again
back to do the Living on the Edge
expose that
panel, which
and use
was
that.
focused around the design process of the environments of Star Citizen. Here we learned about what drives
sea nuts.
environments, being informed by things like narrative to help make the visuals and gameplay make a lot more
Old
sense.
ruins.
In the context of the upcoming content in Pyro,
Was this a
they
village?
explained how things like reputation rewards
Gang
help
floor.
drove making tiers
Plebs.
within stations for players to
PD.
unlock. Eddie Hilditch then led a presentation showing how far they've come
This is the kind of shit I
developing
like right
their
here.
library on outposts. The results are much more impressive than what we'd seen in the past, and based on what I saw in the Pyro demo, as well as the Pyro test servers that they currently have up, it really looks like they've accomplished making a living and breathing set of locations. But I'll be doing a more focused review on these later.
I don't know, we'll
Next,
see,
though,
yeah.
came the derelict outpost settlements, which are a little bit different in style and tone. These look a bit more like shanty towns and resemble what we now see in Stanton. The most impressive bit of this presentation, I have to say, was the oil platform-esque looking settlement.
Yeah, these
I'm
are
much
very
looking
striking.
forward to seeing this
These
in
are very
person.
striking.
It was a much more atmospheric look than I was expecting from the new kit that they've put together. They then shifted to discussing the stations of Pyro.
What
which
do you
have a
do even
completely
in the
different
like
style than what we're
outposts? Do you
used to.
get like random
They
missions
currently have
and
6
you can just
planets
trade?
and 26 stations
I mean,
in
they
Pyro,
look
and
kind of
that's
cool.
a lot of landing locations in space.
Hmm.
Most of these stations, though, are run down in a really bad state based on the lore of Pyro. They talked about how the stations now have a great deal more internal space to explore, including maintenance areas.
I think we saw this in the
higher tiers unlocked through the
Star Engine too. Yeah, this is I think from Star Engine
Interiors
footage.
are also designed to allow players to circumvent low rep gates by sneaking past. This part was really informative for how actions will have consequences.
Factions
even
control
in a
most
lawless
stations.
system like Pyro, repeatedly killing the wrong faction, for example, or just generally being a bad dude.
Yeah.
Will restrict access to some locations, making them hostile to you on sight. This
Like
then
that?
closed out the
Lets you
panel,
do shit
leading
and
to the last
Deal,
official
you know,
one
makes
of
you
the
deal
day.
with the consequences. That's the game design I'm looking
The
for.
Destination Adventure panel centered around their ongoing work with underground facilities.
the
initially
Avengers
shown off
headquarters,
at
dude?
last year's virtual Citcon. CIG reiterated that these are the largest locations in Star Citizen aside from the landing zones that we currently have, and will have a great deal of gameplay. They explain that they will be owned by various scales of faction, from companies like Greycat, which are on the smaller end, all the way up to the UEE. The owning faction will then determine what the UGF features.
This is giving me major Starfield
what types
vibes.
of items can be found there. For hostile gameplay, the first iteration will have hacking, stealing, search and destroy, VIP, and eliminate missions.
Okay.
On the friendly side, though, they'll also offer cargo hauling, resource gathering, mining, and maintenance missions.
Starfield with land vehicles, of course, that you can drive in the city itself, which will be probably bigger and more detailed.
Paths, roads, and loading docks on the periphery, centered by an admin tower which sits atop a large internal storage
It's a striking
space,
look.
and eventually an elevator that will bring you down to the underground part of the facility. That space, though, is not yet in development, so what they focused on were the other spaces I just mentioned. The admin section will be where players
the visible
will
part of the
visit to
iceberg,
sort
in other
down
words.
the reputation path for the given faction. Higher rep will unlock additional missions there. The tower will also feature VIP suites, mission givers, box deliveries, and other future planned areas. They then discuss the lower part of the facility, and this is where the new hostile mission type, raids, will occur. In a mock-up, they showed how players would attack with a small group of 4, fighting off security to reach valuable cargo. There, they would need to secure the cargo on a grav cart and bring it back to the ship to escape, leading to a lot more interesting combat and gameplay. They would then need to load all of that cargo onto a grav cart and bring it
like
back
GTA,
out
kinda
to
like
the ship
Payday.
to escape. The whole sequence looked really exciting, and I can't wait to see this in-game for myself. This led them to then discussing the concept.
That would be something I'll be interested in as well. Yeah, it sounds really fun and looks fun as well.
Which looked really great with them stacking boxes on these sort of wall-mounted systems. Following the exciting presentation on UGFs, Nick Etheridge, Assistant Environment Art Director, took the stage to give a presentation on hauling cargo and the elusive persistent hangars feature. He began with an explanation for how hauling missions will work, involving reputation.
These are all the companies
with
or the
hauling companies that
corporations.
will allow you to unlock more lucrative contracts. And it looks like what you can haul will also be.
Oh, so this is basically Euro Truck Simulator.
Cargo, fragile cargo.
But Universe Truck Simulator now.
High-risk routes. If you recall, these were featured in.
I see what they're going for.
Event, so it's great to see them finally expanding it out to the wider universe's economy. But then came a really
dude, you
big
can just
one.
lose yourself in this
cargo
game.
lift feature for hangars.
Who needs
which was
real life?
Originally supposed to be part of the cargo refactor way back earlier this year. This is part of the new persistent hangar stuff that CIG have been.
Can you
working on for
minge
some
with these,
time.
by the way,
This is
in
where
Gmod
players
style,
will do
just
physical
fling it
loading
towards
of
someone?
Cargo from an inventory onto their ship, so we won't have this automatically done any longer. They also showed off how a new hover cart that we saw.
I wish
earlier in the
there were
raid
servers
could be
like that,
used to
you know,
assist in
separate
loading much
servers
more
where you can
quickly.
just bullshit.
Lifts will also
and have,
enable players
you know,
to store items
a lot looser
physically
rules.
in their hangar.
Maybe
Then
there
they
are,
showed off a
and I don't know.
huge quality of life addition to this feature, which will allow us to not just take out cargo, but also to withdraw components as well as vehicles, making it easier to maintain our ships and to load
Damn.
vehicles onto them without spending a whole 20 or 30
And this
minutes
is done in
prepping
real
just to
time too.
take
You
the
don't go
vehicle
into a
somewhere else, what we
separate
have right now.
menu.
Sadly, though, there was no discussion of when we can expect to see this feature, only that it's going to happen sometime in the next 12 months.
Like
But
a lot
then
of things.
Todd Pappy took the stage for a surprise cap-off to the day, where he announced their concept work for base building. Outposts will have multiple functions such as selling items, extracting resources, crafting, or will serve as a home for you and your org. Building bases will require blueprints, though, obtained through the reputation system via rewards and rare shopkeepers. Construction will also require a variety of resources from raw to complex types from around the system. Building of those bases will still be performed
Fair
by
enough. I'm
specialized
doubtful. I don't know.
ships.
Like,
They
yeah, you
somewhat
can say
revealed
this for
a
every
few
single
concepts
base.
for small
Thinking,
and
how
medium
useful will
bases,
they be?
also
Because,
letting
you
us
know,
that the Galaxy will be
pretty sure you can do
responsible for
all
large
the
bases,
things
while
he
the
said.
capital ship
You
Pioneer
can buy
base
another
builder will
house
be
that's
able to
already
do
prepared,
all of it.
craft somewhere else.
Locations for bases will also fall into 3 main categories.
Okay.
High, low, and no security.
Okay.
In high security, building will require a land claim which must be purchased. There was no mention of
So
whether
this
or not
is
we'll be
unique.
able
This
to
is-
purchase
this
this
is
on the
new to me.
website
This is
again, but I
nice.
think we can safely assume that they're going to monetize this in some way. This will offer the benefit of full protection and basically base.
I mean, I don't like it.
They did use that
But why
word,
wouldn't they monetize it?
Which is a bit surprising.
Sure, there are going to be people who are interested.
This will come at the cost of high taxes and fees, high cost of maintenance, and a much lower financial return than the other two options. Low-sec, on the other hand, will require a land claim, but will only enjoy partial NPC protection and lower taxes in exchange for a higher financial return. Finally, there's going to be no security. This is going to be more like
balls to the walls,
Eve Online, where you don't need a land claim or to pay taxes, but you're going to have to protect anything you build there, with the benefit obviously being the highest level of profitability. Todd then revealed that they're also
exploring do something underground, that'd be cool.
Suggesting that space stations are back on the menu, boys. He then expanded on crafting and fabrication mechanics. This will be necessary to populate your base with furniture and specialized modules, which in turn will be able to produce anything from a ship component all the way up to a ship itself. This marks then the first time we've ever really officially heard about players being able to build their own ships. The quality of what you craft and fabricate, though, will depend on the quality of the resources that you harvest to make them, suggesting that players will also be encouraged to find the best formulas to make a more lucrative crafting economy. In other words, there are going to be people who have better ships than others from being able to craft them better, and this will be more of a skill thing, and I'm excited to see how this affects the game. Other base modules will include refineries.
I guess having your own base basically means that you can
the defensive bases
manufacture a whole lot of BS and get rich
anti-personnel and
real quick like that, instead of, you know, doing bounty hunting or chasing after other jobs.
However, like was said at the beginning of this presentation, this is only in concepting, and full production
This is a pretty big outpost, by the way, that they've been building so far in the video.
This is going to be huge for the long-term playability of Star Citizen, giving 100%. Players and organizations.
I'm surprised it's not even in the game right now in some shape or form. So
let's get to the grand
gotta get this in there.
Citcon. Chris
then
took center stage
there it is. There it is.
Where he announced that the game is
this is
I have a more detailed video about this and
this is what I want right here.
If you're interested, but to summarize it quickly, they played a 26-minute pre-recorded demo that showed off all of the things they had done throughout the day combined into one playthrough. This was a bit of a vindication for CIG's efforts into seemingly unimportant tech, as when everything was put together, it really made a lot of sense to create a more visually impressive game than I've maybe ever seen outside of pre-rendered cutscenes. It's worth a watch on its own if you're interested, but if you want a more dedicated summary, again, I'll offer links to both my video as well as the official one in the description below.
Just on the tech alone, like, I'll definitely check the game out.
Event, which
even if like it ends up having a bad story, which it doesn't seem like it will.
The important thing is that they address two major
love this shot.
Where Squadron and what's going on with server meshing, and they did it in the best possible way. But I think its success is also owed to the fact that they spent time demonstrating the work instead of just showing us concepts, which when coupled with the estimate of giving it to us within the next 12 months made it much more reassuring.
There he is. That guy's Mark Strong. Thank you guys. The bald guy. I'm not gonna call him bald guy anymore. I know his name. Here's the sweat tech.
I imagine this will have given a huge boost to Star Citizen's funding and interest in the community, who have up until this point been pretty apathetic this year, given the lack of content that we've experienced in 2023.
I mean, not just the community, right? I'm coming from the outside and seeing Squadron 42.
Because they do need to.
If they handle this right and the game is good,
to some extent,
like, that's gonna be huge for them. Maybe one of the biggest uptakes they've had in
that said, though,
their backers or, you know, people who support the game.
Since I backed in 2016. But what about you? How do you feel about this CitizenCon? What was your favorite?
Give us a good game with Squadron 42.
Are you reinvigorated and excited about Star Citizen again, or
a good story
in some way for you? Let me know down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.
Do that, and then you got it, man. You got it. So thanks again to Morphologis. What a great dude. What a great video, and a great summary of everything there. And I definitely wanted to see more of the water physics, which were showcased a lot better in this video. Same for the clots. Like, I don't know why they didn't showcase way more in the Star Engine demo. Like, it is insane, the level. Like, for it to run in actual gameplay, the hair physics as well, like, those are big. Those were big. Those, I'm pretty sure, could have been put in the Star Engine demo a bit more prominently, to be honest with you. But I've said all the things that I want to say. We're already getting near to 50 minutes. So again, thank you so much for all the support. I'm excited, man. On the 17th, I'll go ahead and jump in the game, check it out, see what I can do. And whenever I can make that video ready, I'll share it with you guys, see what you think. But yeah, let's see. Well, that's exciting. Again, I just cannot lie. Squadron 42, that's the main event of the evening for me. So very excited for that to eventually come out, and let's see what they can do. It'll be big. It's basically a turning point for Star Citizen. So yeah. Anyways, have a good one.